welcome to Outside the Lines Talanoa panel, where we're talking about life after sport. We have Sulu Fitzpatrick, Eugene Bareman, Vania Wolfgramm and Kevin Senio. So I'm going to start with you, Sulu, for the first, because you are our current athlete. Your announcement for your retirement just recently. Can you talk us through that kind of process of how you came to that decision?
I guess my career hasn't been like the prettiest. I've played in 5 of the 6 teams, franchises in the country, so it hasn't been, I guess, a fairy tale. And so I've probably contemplated retirement or been prepared for retirement probably my whole career. And I'm definitely, my body is telling me, like, honestly, I warm up and I tweak a calf. So I know my body's ready to go. I'm ready to hang up the shoes.
Yeah. Do you have an idea of where you might like to go after your netball career?
Definitely have a passion for our community. I have a passion for helping, I guess, those who aren't as privileged. And what that looks like, I'm unsure, but I'm going to just trust my gut. And I guess with team sports, you get to meet heaps of people, and New Zealand's small, so it's all about who you know and the connections you're able to build. So I'm hoping that a friendship or relationship will be able to direct or navigate the next journey.
You obviously get to retire on your own terms. You've made that decision. Not everyone playing sport, when we get to that elite level, is able to do that, either through like non-selection, injuries, or for whatever kind of circumstances. Eugene might be able to speak to that a little bit.
Well, yeah, a little bit.
A little?
How I've dealt with retirement is I've just not retired. Officially, so functionally, I'm probably retired. Like I'm way too busy to do a fight camp and get back in there, and my body's breaking down. But yeah, it's a funny thing. I think that for many years, only recently I've resided to the fact that I'm probably more of a coach than I'm a fighter. I've always said, even when I was training UFC champions, I said I'm a fighter first and I'm a coach second. So it's just a psychological thing that I have to get over. I love that sport so much. I love the feeling. And the thought of never being able to feel that sensation again, it scares me. I just don't want to go without it in my life, because I know how important a part of it is in my life. So there's something there that I'm grappling with that I'll have to deal with. But I tell you what it does do. It makes me understand that when you're fighting and when you're in the midst of your career, it's a highly privileged position to be in. When you're in it, you never think you'll be out of it. You never look down the road and be like, this is finite. This is something that won't last forever. So now that I know that there's always an end to the road, it makes me appreciate it, and it makes me instill in the young guys that this isn't going to last forever. It looks like it at the moment because you're 20, 25, but when you're 30, 35, you're going to see the end of the tunnel. So it makes me impress upon them to learn to appreciate everything that's going around them, every little bit of experience, every teammate, every coach I've ever had. Just be highly appreciative, because sometimes we take for granted being in that moment, you know.
Vans, I know that you obviously didn't retire on your own terms. Were you always thinking about prepping for life after sport while you were playing, or it wasn't a thing?
I think I sustained an injury, and I didn't realise how severe it was. I copped I even forgotten the name. Yeah, to the eye, right? Yeah, a detached retina, and it happened in England. So there was a number of us. Yeah, see, of my first 5, I did tackle, I would say. But when I did tackle, I copped the back of the boot, and she actually, so it was a massive gash here. So I thought that was it. I thought, it's just here, and my vision was a little bit blurry, and 3 operations later, can't even tell the first time and the second time, then I just went, okay, then it's probably time. But I wasn't very good. But the next best thing I did do, and this was just for myself, like there was no sort of support back then for you know, like as a player, was I ended up going across to the men's game. So I did analysis for our Premier Men's at Marist, and then I did a bit of managing for them and got into coaching sort of that way. You know, when I look back, that was how I sort of coped with the fact that I no longer could play. That decision was made for me, it was taken away from me, but I was still in the game. So yeah, it's kind of, it was hard.
I think there are some kind of messages that resonate when I'm hearing both Sulu and Eugene. Is I go back, was 21, young New Zealand Samoan kid, just want to play rugby, and when the game became professional, I was like, wow, and that's awesome. But I was always kind of, I suppose, just really impressed upon us when I kind of come through the pathways back then. Probably didn't quite take the opportunity, probably a bit casual, just didn't really focus up until I met my girlfriend then, is my wife. And she too was similar to me, doing netball pathways. And when she fell pregnant, I think that's just when the light bulb just went, damn, this opportunity, I need to actually really start to focus. And yeah, no, I think I dedicated myself a lot better. And then it was just pretty motivated in terms of taking the opportunity that came its way. Opportunity to go overseas came about. And from 34 years old, I still remember like bending over in the changing room, putting my boots, and that was my last year of my contract, and going, yeah, I'm done. I'm done, but really grateful in what I do.
How does a rugby player know the writing's on the wall? Is it because you guys are too beat up, or because you've lost enthusiasm for the game, or you can't get as fit as you used to get when you were young? Like, what were the signals like physically?
Yeah, good question. For me personally, it was probably the enthusiasm. Yeah. So arriving at training in the morning, and I believe physically I was probably more in tune with my body at 34 than I was at 24. So even though I was probably looking after myself, a lot more dedicated around nutrition and all that, I was like, I can do another year. But as soon as I kind of park up at the training ground, early hours in the morning, and then kind of chuck on training gear, and then kind of put on the boots, I'm just like, this routine I've been doing for the last 10 years. Yeah. And
game's different.
That's the one. So I still loved it, but I just knew it's time for me to move, because there's another opportunity for another young kid to come through.
Do you feel like potentially, because you didn't have that full-on wraparound support, you had to navigate your life after sport on your own or through family? Like, how did you do that?
We simply didn't have a choice. But I think it is a different era of athletes that are coming through, because they have everything at their fingertips, But I would never take back me coming through the ranks. I'd never change anything. There are no regrets. Even my injury is not a regret. And what that has enabled me to do now, and the work that I do, so as the game development manager for women's rugby, is know what the standard is, and and I see the future. And there might be, there is head clashes all the time. I say I don't think that is the best place to do, and that's just talking from experience. I'm probably not as qualified as many of these other experienced or experts that have come in, but I don't think you can beat experience and lived experience. So I think there's a lot of, and actually in my work now, I've jumped over to netball, and I don't understand why it's so hard. I think there's been quite a maybe a perception of that going to other codes, as rugby can be seen as the come on guys, it's okay to share, and so I've gone across and had a look at some of the resources. I think some of the things that we're lacking in the women's space is around the female athlete, or the health of a female athlete. Menstrual cycles is another a topic that is often talked about in rugby circles, so that's some things that we've come across and shared and looked at, and I look forward to, I've been in this role for about 10, 11 years, and it's taken that long to get across with, so I'm looking forward to when it becomes the norm to sit at a table like this and talk about stuff around our sports to be better cared for our athletes that are coming through.
Did you have to kind of switch some of your practices, Eugene, with female fighters? And I know with your new TV series coming up, you've put a call out for more women to get on board. Is there kind of
couple of my daughters are going to
is that something where you've had to kind of hone your craft a bit differently with them?
I got 4 boys. I got 4 beautiful sons, so I don't know nothing about menstrual cycles.
I've got 4 daughters.
You trade off.
So so I don't know anything about menstrual cycles, but look, woman. Man, I'm not the best person to talk about this, but
be really careful about it.
Look, at the end of the day, we have to face the facts, and women are different to men, and there's a lot of things like menstrual cycles. There's a lot of things that women experience as an athlete that men just simply don't experience. So those things have to be taken into account. There's a time in my team to treat everybody equally. But there's also a time for people to realise that these are the female athletes in the gym and these are the male athletes in the gym. So it's just picking those moments right, trying not to offend everybody.
Just empathy in and around what's going on with the female body. And now they give me crap too and say, Dad, you have your period too. But no, just education. I think it's something for males that we need more awareness, just so we can understand when to approach and address some topics at the right time and when not to. But it's all learnings for me anyway. But I believe in terms of sports and what Vans was alluding to, it needs to be understood much better, especially in not rugby, but in sports, so that we can actually have awareness and around how to look after our female athletes.
Do you feel like you've had that kind of access to information to help you with your career, or is it just starting?
Definitely been a shift probably in the last few years. I think with so many of us having babies, I guess within the Silver Ferns environment, it almost gave a little bit of a nudge. They've brought in the Smart Health, which is focused specifically on female athletes. So our Silver Ferns physio is passionate about women's health. So she's really driven that, and I think it's appropriate that it's her, that it's a woman, driving that program. And so that's been implemented from the grassroots right up to Silver Ferns. And so that's about educating the support staff as well, because most of our strength and conditioning coaches are males. And so just, I get it. Like if we say to them, I've got cramps, they're like, well, I've got a sore tummy, lift the weights. But they're really focusing on educating them, because I guess it goes back.
There's a lot of girls in my gym laughing at you. Laughing at you saying that, sitting next to me right now. There's a whole lot of girls just laughing at me. Talk to the guy next to me.
But yeah, definitely shifting, massive shift. That'll just come with time. You see the women's sport across the board, women are, I guess, realising their power and understanding their own style, because obviously we can't play sport the same way men do, but that's a strength, it's just different. So really learning to embrace it.
What would your advice kind of be to your, not necessarily your S&Cs and your coaches and stuff, but just in general, family members and stuff around this kind of period, basically?
I think what's really good about the research or the shift in focusing on is it's allowing women to not have to be forced into a decision between being an athlete or other. The support is allowing you to at least have a plan to be both. And often you've seen women have to give up their careers early because do I want a family or do I want, or that's often a conversation between players of, what are you going to do? Are you going to wait? How long? And so now, because there's more and more research and more support, I guess you can make more informed decisions, and you don't have to give up both. It's quite nice being the athlete and having my husband at home with the 4 kids. So I'm unsure of what's going to be better, being told off by a coach at training, or being at home with my 4 kids telling me off. But at least it's a choice, and a choice that I'm making wholeheartedly, and I want to be with my family now. So I'm really happy with the space that's, and I'm hoping that that's going to be the same for all women, that it's a choice. You can be an athlete or a mum or both.
Yeah. Have you prepared yourself for now that you've made the announcement?
I'm the same as Kevin. When you know, you know. And physically I know. And also the same. Like, it's the last few months, honestly, I'm like, why do I do this? And it's not that I don't love the sport. I just don't. I don't think I can make that choice every morning anymore. And
there is something, and Eugene shared about it earlier, and you did as well, and you'll know, is that one thing you do miss is the rush, eh?
Yeah.
You miss the rush, like.
Yeah, the rush is addictive.
And I'm sure, how does it feel when you're preparing your athletes? Do you, as a coach, do you experience?
I'm very lucky because you get the same rush, but you just don't get it. You don't get the intensity of it, obviously, but you do get the same rush. So, and I'm not sure if a netball coach or a rugby coach would get that same rush, but just because of the magnitude of the event and what's on the line, like because fighting and by its nature is like the other person's trying to hurt you. and I'm responsible for that person in the cage, I get the rush as well, because I feel like I feel that weight of that responsibility is on my shoulders. So I get the rush too, so which helps me deal with the fact that I don't need the full rush. I don't need no one beating on me at this old age, but I get a little bit of it. So it kind of helps in a way, being a coach. So
You're obviously still getting half a rush, Eugene,
Well,
but for the rest of you, like, how do you get through that period where you finish your sport? You're not going to get the rush that you get with being in a team environment, the winning and losing. How have you actually dealt with
you guys
that?
must still get a
Yeah,
buzz,
no,
like, in
I
the coaching.
coach. Yeah, no, I was going to say,
take to
like, coaching, going back to Ponsonby, and being part of, you know, winning the championship, and it's probably cliche winning championship, but it's actually going through. Everything's on the line. You're preparing for a semi-final, and you know it's only 4 teams, so you're like, shit, man, like.
Still feel it, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't feel it
and
quite
you-
the same
no,
as when
that's
you're a
right.
player, because you're not involved, but you
and it
feel
just
in a
goes
different
through
way.
the stomach, and you know, there are moments in the games that you're like, oh, jeez, or could have gone the other way. Next thing you know, the result, and you win. Try to reciprocate that rush, and I was, oh, hell no. Walking down the thing, and people going, kill him, kill him. I was like, that's not how I experienced it in my head coming out. I thought it was going to come out like, you know, Rocky and sort of stuff. But preparing for that event, awesome. You know, like 2 months of training or whatever it was, and those are, and then doing a couple of events here and there. That's as close as you get, but not quite the same. But that's part of transitioning out of the game.
Yeah, well, for those that don't go into coaching pathways though, and might not necessarily get that high again, the same as what they did when they played sport, Vans, were you the same with your transition out, or how did you personally have to get through it?
It was time. So I needed time, and that was to be away from it. But you know, then I got over myself. It took me a season. I quickly had come back. But I think for me, it was still staying in the game. So I think, you know, what rugby has provided me in terms, you know, I'd never be able to repay it. So I don't know. I owe everything to the sport. The sport doesn't owe anything to me. And you can tell by the fact that I'm still in the game, right? So as my role, my big rush is being able to provide those opportunities for the next, you know, girls and women that want to be part of the game. It doesn't have to necessarily be as a player. It could be a coach or a referee or anything, or even a supporter, is to get people on the journey now.
Going into coaching and staying in the sport is like a cheat code, right? Because you can still stay in it and still get the rush. But what about all the people that can't do that? That don't have the capacity to coach? They're the ones that we're dealing with it by staying in the sport, basically. But if they don't have the capacity to coach and they don't have the brains or whatever, then they're the ones that sometimes suffer. In my sport, you young fighter, you give up everything. You don't get any money, even at a professional. The UFC guys get money, but everybody else doesn't. They become quite notorious. Everybody gets to know them, and then they fall off. They retire. They lose that notoriety. They lose any income they had. In my sport, what the big problem is, how a lot of them deal with that is they join a gang. They put a patch on, and they think that gives them the same, oh yeah, now I'm still the man. Because they have, even though that's not what a gang does, but they have this image that that's what a gang does. So a lot of young fighters in fighting who don't make it to the UFC, but make it to a really high level, they end up trying to find that notoriety some other way through like crime and stuff. It's like a big problem in my sport. It's partly because we don't have an infrastructure around it yet. Like we're doing it all ourselves. In my gym, it's not too bad, but in the other gyms around New Zealand, it's a real big problem. The key for someone that isn't getting involved in coaching and stuff is you have to find something else you're passionate about. That's it. Because you dedicate and you throw all your passion and love into fighting, and then it gets taken away, that's when you fall into trouble. But if you find something, just one thing, it can be anything. It can be family, it can be, like for me, I've discovered hunting the last like 5 or 6 years. So I like, any chance I get, I go hunting. Something that you're just as passionate about or close to as passionate about, that kind of solves a lot of problems. Because then there's something else in your life to fill the gap.
Because the lull to it is that straight out, like we know, I think from experiences and people talking, is that it's the lull just after you've announced, and then it's like it's like 3, 6 months, a year, and some people who might potentially still have it years after, just because they haven't been able to express how they're feeling around that kind of period in their life. Is that kind of what you're going through, Kevin,
Yeah,
or what
I
you're talking about, Greg?
Just grief, eh? Like
Yeah.
everything that you've done for such a long period of time, when it finishes, yeah, we're all humans, eh? And we got to experience our emotions, and it's just grieving. And I think the quicker you can, or not quicker, but people can talk about it, and opportunity to talk about it. And you're right, and to navigate, and people with the skill set to navigate people into spaces to, hey, let's try and figure out where your value and your worth is still.
I'm going to go to the question then about the skills, the hard, like tangible skills that you all think people should be aware of or practice while they're in the sport that are going to be applicable outside of life. If you could say 3 or 4 skills that you would recommend athletes or parents, support people should know and be aware of and actively practicing, what would they be?
It's hard to label this as a skill, but learning that being around family and people that care for you, that don't care for you because you're a rugby player, or you're a netball player, or you're a fighter, that to them, your identity is you the person, not you the fighter, or you the All Black, or you the Super Rugby player. They knew you before that, and they'll love you after that. And the skill of just getting very comfortable with those people and having them around you and realizing that these are the people, these are my close support network, and they'll always be the same after retirement, during in the middle of my career. And just understanding that having an identity is multifaceted. There's your identity as you as an athlete, but there's your identity as a person, and that is the one that carries through. When the individuals get too wrapped up that their identity has got to do with they're the famous fighter or they're the famous rugby player, well then those are the people that run into trouble when all that ends, because they haven't gone back to their family and back to their friends and their support network and been like, well actually that's not my identity, or that's one of my identities. My actual identity is the person that I've always been and that I grew up as. That's who I am. When those people get comfortable with that, then they won't run into any problems. So whether that you can label that as a skill or not.
Yeah, I think just going off what Eugene was sharing is some of our people can get kind of caught up with, their circles getting bigger and bigger. It's probably just, but I think the one key thing I would say when you're transitioning is making sure that, it's okay to have, and you'll get to an age where your circles are a little bit smaller, that you've got, you've got your family and your close friends, but you do need to have that someone that can actually tell you how it is. And when you're transitioning, it's like, okay, when you finish feeling sorry for yourself, then come back to me and I'll tell you our next steps. You know what I mean? You kind of need that.
Such a you
you hear that. Okay, yeah. And I suppose that is a lot about, that tells you a lot about me, how.
You play number 10, eh? Summer Brown Fox.
Oh, being raised, give me the ball properly or I'll chuck it back at you. No. And, that's my upbringing. If we don't keep researching, if we don't keep pushing, or if you don't keep saying that these are quite normal things and values for our people, then we're always going to have some of our athletes not be well supported or transition past that phase.
If you're at the beginning, when we do, if I use the example of talent IDing young kids, all the physical traits and all that, but the more we can understand who they are, their family, and probably what their anchors are. They're still young and they're going to develop over the period of time of the sport, but more importantly is if they have self-awareness, and what I was hearing too is intuition, there's the intuition that you've got to keep. And I keep thinking of my grandma saying, hey, whangalo, there's a way and there's a way. And it's just the way you navigate space with people or relationships.
You've got to bring them back to earth, right? You've got to be like, nah, you're just another sprocket in the machine. Like, you're a superstar for that week, but then you've got to bring them back to earth. And it keeps you grounded. And then you understand what your true identity is. And so when you lose that identity that's wrapped up with all the media and all the fans and stuff, when you lose that, it's no different, because you've got your team or your family always bringing you back and keeping you humble. It's like, hey, you're getting a bit too big for yourself, yeah?
That's it.
It's like, get to the back of the line. Like,
come have Sunday. That's the one. Come have Sunday ko nga'is, and next thing you know, hey, you do whiwha. And we've got like an automatic dishwasher, but my grandmother never used it. Do the dishes. Put you in your place.
Well, I think that's basically our talanoa for Outside the Lines wrapped up.
Thank you.
We really appreciate
Thank
you
you
guys
for
coming
inviting
in to talk about your life after sport and how we can hopefully help other people when they go through that period. So I appreciate you all.
Thanks, Ash.